Hi guys, and welcome to another one of my videos. Today we're going to be going over the kidney from Biology Further Additional, and I'm going to be explaining to you the structure of the kidney and nephron, and the purpose, obviously. So to start with, I've got a diagram here of the kidney, and as you can see we've got a red and a green line. Now the red line represents the oxygenated blood going towards the kidney, or just the blood going towards the kidney, because they're both oxygenated. So this one here is the renal artery, okay, this red one. Let me label that for you. Okay, and that carries all the substances that are about to be filtered into the kidney, so it carries them into the kidney, okay, so it goes in this direction, yeah? And then we have below that the renal vein. Now the renal vein carries the blood which has had all these substances filtered to remove any waste products, okay? Because that's what the kidney does, it filters to remove waste products that you don't need, such as urea, which we'll talk about later, okay? And then another important part of the kidney that you need to know is this line down here going down, okay? And that's called the ureter. The ureter, and it's spelt like this. Okay? And what the ureter does is it carries all these waste products that the kidney filters out down to the bladder, where you then urinate it out. Okay? So that's the purpose of the ureter here. Lastly, the part of the kidney which I'm going to be explaining to you in more detail is known as the nephron. Okay, and you can find the nephron round about here, okay, on the kidney. It's called the nephron. Now, if you don't know this, you should know this, but if you don't know this, just to say, most people have two kidneys, so you'll have two of these, and a kidney will have lots of nephrons in it. That's just one. Okay, so now, let's go over the structure of the nephron, because the nephron is the part of the kidney which actually does the filtering for the kidney, okay? And we'll go over what happens in the nephron. Okay, so here we have a basic diagram of the nephron. Now, I know this will look a bit weird to you, but this is basically what's found in the kidney and filters out any unwanted products. So, first off, here we have the glomerulus, okay? That's this ball of red here, and that's a load of capillaries, and if you know what capillaries are, that's where all the substances can diffuse in and out of the blood. So this is just a lot of capillaries here, and it's called the glomerulus. It's spelt like this. I apologise for my handwriting. Sorry. It's spelt like that. That's a U there, by the way, sorry. So that's G-L-U-M-E-R-L, L-U-S. Okay? And that's the glomerulus. Okay, so what happens at the glomerulus is everything apart from blood, basically the actual oxygen in the blood, and proteins filter into this nephron, okay, through this glomerulus. And it filters into this Pac-Man-like structure, which is called the Bowman's capsule. Okay? And it all filters into this Bowman's capsule, and it's now in the nephron, okay? So then, from this Bowman's capsule, it moves through this tube here. Now there are two tubes here, and they're each known as convoluted tubing, okay? Now I'm just going to consult the book for the spelling on this one, but I believe it's spelled like this. Convoluted tubule. Yes. Convoluted tubule, okay? So there's one there, and there's also one here, okay? This one here is called the proximal, okay? And just remember that because proxy first, and this one here is called the distal. Just remember that distance, okay? So it's further away. So it goes through the proximal convoluted tubuling first, okay? Or tubule. And in there, certain parts of the blood, you don't have to know what, are filtered back, okay? And that's called reabsorption. So that's parts that are needed, okay? So I'll just write that down for you over here, actually, because that's an important word. Reabsorption. And you can see here I've got this red line, okay? That's to indicate the blood, so you can see that it can reabsorb back in, okay? And when it reabsorbs certain products that it wants, so not the waste products, that's known as selective reabsorption. I'll probably spell this wrong. Selective reabsorption, okay? And that's where you reabsorb certain products you want in the blood to help your cells grow or do their purpose or whatever, okay? So then, from the proximal convoluted tubing, you move to this dip in the nephron, and that's called the loop of Henle. Okay. Okay, and that's just a part you need to know. That's all we need to know. It's called the loop of Henle, and it moves through there. So just, if you're asked to describe the process it goes through, all you need to say is it then moves through the loop of Henle, which is this dip. And then, as I said, you've got the distal convoluted tubule, where again substances are reabsorbed back into the blood if they're needed, known as selective reabsorption. Remember, that's a very important word you must use in a description to get good marks. Okay. So then, after that, it moves to the collecting duct, which is this bottom section here. I'll do a different colour for you here. Okay, so the collecting duct is there. And this is where most of the water is reabsorbed back into the blood. Because obviously water is very important, but not all the water, which we're going to talk about in a second. It depends on how much water you need or have in the blood at the time. Okay, so that's your collecting duct here. And also remember, well, actually I'll explain that next. So we're going to go on to now to explaining what substances are reabsorbed and how they're reabsorbed and what ones aren't. Okay, so in the kidney you have three main types of substances that pass through the nephron, okay? These are the main three you need to know. The urea, water, and glucose, okay? So, glucose is always reabsorbed, okay? Glucose is always reabsorbed. Okay? And glucose is always reabsorbed because it's used for respiration. It's used to make your energy, your ATP energy, which you need in your body to keep going. So glucose is very, very important to the body, and it's always reabsorbed. And remember, glucose is usually absorbed through the convoluted tubules, okay? Now, urea is never reabsorbed. Urea is what you find in your urine, okay? So it's never reabsorbed. Okay? And urea is never reabsorbed simply because it's just a waste product. We don't need it in our body. So there's no reason to have it, so it's not reabsorbed. Okay, so just remember that. Urea, never reabsorbed. Always passes through the collecting duct and passes through the convoluted tubing, etc., etc., through the nephron and goes out in your urine. So it's never reabsorbed. Okay, now water is the more complicated part. Water is sometimes reabsorbed. Okay, so some of it, I would prefer to say actually, some of it is. Okay? And I'm now going to explain that to you in more detail. Okay. So, water reabsorption. This is controlled by a hormone known as ADH, okay? ADH. And this stands for antidiuretic hormone. However, you don't need to know that. Just remember that water reabsorption is controlled by a hormone known as ADH, okay? And ADH, you need to know this, is released by the pituitary gland. Or pituitary, however you say that, pituitary gland, okay? I call it the pituitary gland, okay? So it's released by the pituitary gland, and what ADH does is the more ADH there is, the more water that's reabsorbed. So ADH causes water reabsorption into the blood, okay? So I'll just write that for you. It causes water reabsorption. Okay? So if there's more ADH, then more water will be reabsorbed. Okay, so now you might be thinking, so how does the body regulate this? Okay, why does it need to change it? Well, if you've got a lot of water in your blood, you know, that could be very dangerous. Your cells can become oversaturated. So you need to ensure you keep water levels at a kind of medium rate. So what ADH does, what the body will do, is it will do something called osmoregulation. I will again write that down for you. Where it controls water levels, okay? I'm sorry that's not very clear. It says osmoregulation, okay? And that controls water levels. So what the body will do is it will say there's too much water in the blood, so it's going to release more ADH, less ADH, so it's going to stop ADH levels and it's going to lower them, and as a result, with less ADH, less of the water that goes into the nephron is reabsorbed, so more goes out in your urine. That's why when you've drunk a lot of water, your urine is quite clear. However, if there's not much water in the blood, the body will release more ADH because ADH causes water reabsorption. So with more ADH, more water will be reabsorbed and your body will be able to supply itself with the energy it needs and will be able to respire correctly. Okay? So just remember that ADH causes water reabsorption. Okay? That's very important. And that's what controls the level of water reabsorption. So just remember, water is sometimes reabsorbed and ADH controls this, okay? Okay, so I hope this video has explained most of the important parts of the kidney to you. As usual, if you have any questions, please post below or tell me in some way, whatever you want to do, and I will see if I can answer those questions. So thank you for watching, and I hope this has helped to explain to you the kidney's water reabsorption and the nephron. Thank you.